Pyeongchang is the mountain town that spent 2 decades lobbying to host the Winter Olympics, won through a 2-week party, and then demolished its own stadium on purpose. Sorting out what's worth your time up here is trickier than it looks. The Olympic venues are scattered, and the best stuff isn't always obvious. I mapped out the whole 3-day route in a template links in the description if you want it. Pyeongchang sits high enough that winter hits different frozen rivers, snow-draped fir forests, and a cold that genuinely changes how you move through the day. Day 1 is the Olympics story where the games happened, what's left of them, and what it feels like to stand at the top of a ski jump in January. This museum is the only place where the 2018 Olympics still feel real. The stadium next door was designed to be torn down, and it was. Inside, you'll find the actual medals, torches, and mascot costumes, in a space that's warm and quiet after the wind-blasted plaza outside. Pyeongchang bid 3 times over 2 decades before losing to Vancouver and Sochi, before the third try stuck, which is more interesting than the medals. 90 minutes covers it because the museum is compact, which is why mornings work. You get the context and still have the whole day for outdoor venues. Next is the Alpensia Ski Jumping Centre, where a monorail takes you to the top of the ramp Olympic ski jumpers launched from on live television. The observation deck gives you a 360-degree panorama of the Taebaek Mountains and a genuinely alarming look straight down the jump ramp. Clear afternoons are when the low sun turns those ridgelines gold. If it's overcast, the view flattens, so check the sky before committing. The deck is outdoors, and the wind hits hard. The cafe inside the tower lounge is your warming stop, because you will need one. Alpensia Ski Resort is the flagship venue of the 2018 Games, built from scratch on empty highland before the cameras showed up. The name is a portmanteau of Alps and Asia, which tells you about the aspiration, but the slopes are genuinely beginner-friendly, not daredevil terrain. After sunset, the village glows warm against the snow, and Korean barbecue drifts from restaurants better than you'd expect at a purpose-built resort. Evening lift passes are cheaper and rental lines have cleared, so ski under lights or just wander the village with dinner as your only objective. Day 2 is the contrast, the 7th century temple behind a fir forest older than most countries, followed by the loudest ski resort on the trip. Woljeongsa is a Buddhist temple founded in 643 inside Odaechon National Park, behind a corridor of roughly 1,700 fir trees, some over 500 years old. You walk a path through those firs to a 9-story stone pagoda, a national treasure, and in fresh snow the dark green needles against white ground are stunning. Snow muffles everything: footsteps, wind, conversation, and the only sounds are crows and old wood creaking, which makes this the quietest place on the trip. Bring traction cleats, because that forest trail is a sheet of ice, and you will slide like a newborn deer without them. Phoenix Pyeongchang hosted the Olympic freestyle and snowboard events, and it's a different energy, louder, faster, with terrain park music carrying across the slopes. The draw is night skiing later than almost anywhere else in Korea. Floodlights carve runs out of the darkness once the day trippers clear out. This is about 50 kilometers from Woljeongsa, so you need a car or shuttle, because nothing between these 2 stops is walkable. Arrive before noon to dodge the rental rush, then ski into the evening. A silent temple in the morning, a thumping resort by night. Day 3 is the slow one, a snowy hillside, ice fishing on a frozen river, and the best meal of the trip from a folding table. The Daegwallyeong Sheep Farm is a working hilltop farm at 850 meters in winter. The flock stays in barns, and you get the snow-covered pasture to yourself. What you're here for is the landscape: white snowfields against mountain ridges in every direction, nothing blocking the wind, and a silence that's almost disorienting. The sheep being indoors just shifts the experience from petting zoo to Highland walk, which is honestly the better version. Get there before 11 because the wind picks up hard in the afternoon and there's no shelter out in the pasture. The Trout Festival sits on the frozen Odaechon stream drill hole. Catch a trout, and someone slices it into sashimi on the ice in front of you. This is how Korean families spend winter weekends. Not a tourist. Show foreign visitors are the minority, which is part of what makes it work. Afternoons are better because the vendor stalls are fully open and crowd energy picks up, but bring cash, since most food stands don't take card. Standing on a frozen river, willing a fish to bite through a hole you drilled. It's deeply absurd, and yet it works every time. Jinbu Market is where people in Pyeongchang actually buy food, not a tourist setup, but a real neighborhood market where buckwheat is why everything tastes good. The Highland grows buckwheat that becomes memeuljeon hot pancakes sizzling on griddles, and the smell of that batter hitting oil in freezing air is unforgettable. The market runs on a traditional 5-day rotating schedule, so check the calendar because on off days, half the stalls are closed. Walk the full length before buying because the best stalls aren't near the entrance. This is the meal you'll remember from the trip. Pyeongchang spent 20 years chasing a 2-week party, and what's left is better temples, frozen rivers, buckwheat griddles, and Highland that doesn't care you came. I put this whole route into an editable template with a map view so you can rearrange it for your own trip links in the description and pinned comment. Drop a comment if you've been to Pyeongchang or if there's a spot you'd add. Always curious what people find out there.